I never thought I'd see my parents again, not after they left me at Grandma Rose's when I was 8 years old. That day is burned into my memory, a small backpack, a kiss on the forehead, and empty promises. We just need time to sort things out. Emma, Mom had said, eyes fixed on the floor. Be good for Grandma, Dad added, already walking back to the car. They never returned. The first few months were brutal. After school, I'd sit by Grandma's window, watching every car that passed, hoping one would stop and bring them back. Every night, I cried myself to sleep, wondering what I'd done wrong. Why wasn't I worth staying for? But Grandma Rose saved me. You're perfect just the way you are, sweetheart, she'd whisper, wiping away my tears. Not everyone is ready to be a parent, that's on them. Not you. I'm here, and I'll always be here. And she was. Grandma Rose wasn't your typical grandmother, brilliant, graceful, and, though I didn't know it at the time, very wealthy. But you wouldn't guess it from the way she lived. Our house was cozy, she drove an old Toyota, and she continued working as a high school principal because she loved it. The only hints of her wealth came through her curated art collection and her morning habit of reading financial news like most people read the comics. Under her care, I thrived. She nurtured my love of science, found me the best tutors when I needed help, and celebrated every milestone. When I won first place at the state science fair at 13, she threw a party so big our neighbors thought it was a wedding. That's my girl, she said, hugging me tight. You're going to change the world. It was Grandma and me against everything. She never criticized my parents, but she made sure I understood the truth. Sometimes people make choices they can't undo, she'd say gently, but that's their burden, not yours. Eventually, I stopped waiting. Stopped wondering. Stopped caring. Grandma was my family, she was enough, more than enough. Then came my 18th birthday. She threw a beautiful dinner party, elegant but warm, very her. At the end of the night, she gave me a delicate gold necklace with a small key pendant. This isn't just jewelry, Emma, she said, keep it safe. One day, you'll understand. I had no idea it would be our last celebration. 3 months later, she collapsed at work. By the time I reached the hospital, she was gone. A heart attack, quick and painless, they said. But my grief was anything but painless. It tore through me, raw and relentless. Her funeral was filled with former students and friends, all sharing stories of how she had shaped their lives. I sat alone in the front row, the key pendant clutched in my hand, trying to be strong the way she taught me. And that's when I saw them. My parents walked into the church like they belonged there, as if the past 10 years had never happened. Mom looked older, Dad was heavier, but I recognized them instantly. My heart thudded. They approached slowly, faces painted with concern. Emma, sweetheart, Mom said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. We came as soon as we heard, she added. We're so sorry about your grandmother. Dad nodded. You'll come home with us now, of course. You're still a minor for a few more months, we're your legal guardians. I stared at them, stunned, after a decade of silence. Now they wanted to play the role of family? I'm not going anywhere with you, I said, my voice trembling. Grandma was my home. Mom's face tightened. Don't be difficult, we're your parents, you don't have a choice. Actually, a calm voice interrupted, she does. We turned to see a tall man in a tailored suit walking toward us, carrying a briefcase. I'm James Morrison, Rose Montgomery's attorney, we need to talk about her will. My parents' eyes flickered, interest, then calculation. We're her only living relatives, Dad said, smoothing his tie. Mr. Morrison remained unreadable. Let's move to a private room, there are things we need to discuss. As we followed him, I instinctively reached for the key around my neck. Something told me everything was about to change. The room was too small for the tension inside it. Mr. Morrison opened his briefcase and began sorting papers while my parents hovered on either side of me like circling hawks. Before we begin, he said, adjusting his glasses, Miss Emma, may I see your necklace? My parents looked puzzled, but I held up the key pendant. Mr. Morrison gave a small, satisfied nod. Perfect, he said. Now, let me read the terms of Rose Montgomery's will. He began, the legal language blurring together, until one sentence sliced through the air. To my beloved granddaughter, Emma Grace Montgomery, I leave my entire estate, including all properties, investments, bank accounts, and business holdings, currently valued at approximately $47 million. Silence, then chaos. 47 million. Mom's face flushed with disbelief. That's not possible. Rose was a school principal. Dad slammed his fist on the table. This is outrageous. We're her children. She can't just hand everything over to a teenager. Mr. Morrison remained composed. There's more. The will also stipulates that Emma is to be emancipated immediately. A trust has been established in her name. The key she wears opens a safety deposit box containing additional documents and instructions. My thoughts spun in every direction. $47 million? Grandma Rose, the woman who lived modestly, drove an old Toyota, and clipped coupons, had been worth $47 million? Mom's voice dropped, sharp and low. This will is dated just last month. We'll contest it. Emma is still a minor. We're her legal guardians. We have rights. Actually, Mr. Morrison said, reaching into his briefcase, you surrendered those rights 10 years ago. He pulled out a document and placed it in front of them. This is a copy of the abandonment filing Rose submitted after you left Emma. You never responded to the court summons. She was granted full custody. Legally, you haven't been her guardians in a very long time. I watched the change in their faces. The mask of concern slipped, revealing what was always underneath: greed, entitlement, and rage. Emma, sweetheart, Mom said, her voice dripping with fake warmth, you don't know what you're doing. Let us help you manage this. We're family. Family. The word turned bitter on my tongue. Where was family when you left me behind? When you disappeared without a word for 10 years? Grandma was my family. She stayed. Dad jumped in quickly. We made mistakes, all right? We were young, overwhelmed, but we're here now. We can fix this. Fix it? I stood, trembling with fury. You didn't come to comfort me. You came for the money. Did you even cry for her? Did you ever once care about me? Their silence was the only answer I needed. Mr. Morrison cleared his throat gently. There's one more thing. Rose left you a letter. Emma, she asked that you read it in private. He handed me a sealed envelope. I left the room, ignoring my parents' protests, and found a quiet corner of the church. My hands shook as I opened the letter. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and you've just learned the truth about our family's wealth. I know it's a lot. I kept it hidden to protect you, to give you a chance to grow up grounded, to value compassion over privilege. Your parents didn't leave because they were overwhelmed. They left because I refused to keep funding their lavish lifestyle. When I cut them off, they walked away from you, but in doing so, they gave me the greatest blessing of my life, raising you. The key I gave you opens more than a deposit box, it opens the next chapter of your life. The house is yours. Your education is taken care of. The family business is waiting, should you choose it. But more important than any of that, you are deeply loved, not for what you've inherited, but for who you are, the strength you showed as a child, the kindness you held on to. That's what makes you worthy of this responsibility. Don't let your parents twist the truth. They'll try, but you, my girl, are a Montgomery woman. And we don't bend. We don't break. All my love. Grandma Rose. Tears blurred the words. Even in death, she was shielding me, guiding me, loving me. I touched the key around my neck, the truth settling into my heart like sunlight breaking through a storm. Back in the private room, my parents were still arguing with Mr. Morrison. They stopped when I entered. Emma, Mom began, but I raised my hand. Leave, both of you. You're not welcome here. Dad's face twisted. Now listen. Mr. Morrison cut in, calm and firm. Should I call security? Emma has full legal authority to have you removed. They stared at me, and I saw it, the exact moment they realized they'd lost. Not just the money, me. This isn't over, Mom hissed, grabbing her purse. No, I said quietly, but it's over for you. They stormed out. I watched them go with a strange calm. What now? I asked. Mr. Morrison gave a soft smile. Now, we open the box. Your grandmother left instructions. Quite a few, actually, shall we? As we stepped into the afternoon light, I caught sight of my parents in the parking lot, shouting at each other, already unraveling. They'd lost everything. Not because of a will, but because of a choice they made a long time ago. I touched the key again, heart steady. This wasn't just an inheritance. It was a legacy. And it was mine to carry forward. I never imagined just how carefully my grandmother had prepared for everything. Inside the safety deposit box were property deeds, stock portfolios, legal documents, and a USB drive labeled simply, "Watch me first." Mr. Morrison plugged it into his laptop. A video loaded, and suddenly, there she was, Grandma Rose, healthy, composed, eyes twinkling with that familiar sharpness. She must have recorded this just before she passed. "Emma, my darling girl," she began, her voice warm and steady, "if you're seeing this, then everything has unfolded as I anticipated. Let me guess, your parents showed up at my funeral, didn't they? Trying to claim what was never theirs?" I gasped. Even now, she saw it all coming. "There's something you need to understand, Emma. Your parents didn't just abandon you, they betrayed me. Your father, my own son, and your mother tried to transfer all my assets into their names while I was away on business. They thought I was just a school principal, clueless and soft. What they never realized was that I built Montgomery Investments from scratch. Every dollar, every deal." Her smile faded, her voice hardened. "When I confronted them, I gave them a choice: stay and live a life of humility, or walk away. They chose to walk. They thought I'd come crawling back. They never realized that by leaving you behind, they gave me the greatest gift." Tears slid down my cheeks as I listened. "I watched you grow into a remarkable young woman, smart, kind, strong, everything they're not. That's why I trust you with everything." The video shifted into detailed instructions about the company, the estate, and, most importantly, the Montgomery Foundation, a charity she had quietly built to support abandoned and neglected children. "You're its new director, Emma. Use what we've built to change lives. That is our true legacy." The weeks that followed moved in a blur. Mr. Morrison introduced me to the board of Montgomery Investments. They had known and deeply respected Grandma. They welcomed me with open arms, pledging their support as I stepped into a role I never expected, but quickly embraced. My parents didn't give up quietly. They hired lawyers, contested the will, and even tried to claim Grandma had been mentally unfit. But Rose Montgomery had been precise to the last detail: ironclad paperwork, psychiatric evaluations, video records. She'd left no room for doubt. 3 months later, they made one last desperate move. They stormed into the lobby of Montgomery Investments, demanding to see me. "She's our daughter," Mom screamed as security blocked them. "She can't do this to us." I met them at the top of the stairs, calm, collected, wearing one of Grandma's old tailored blazers and the key necklace resting proudly at my collarbone. "Actually," I said, "I can, and I am." Dad stepped forward, voice low and furious. "We'll go public. Tell the world how you stole what should have been ours." I gave him a cold smile, Grandma's smile. "Go ahead, tell them how you abandoned your daughter, how you tried to rob your own mother. I'm sure the press would love that story." They froze, for the first time, truly silenced, not by law, but by truth. "Goodbye," I said, "and don't come back." They left in defeat, their final chance gone, and somehow, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. That night, I sat alone in Grandma's office, my office, and signed off on the first wave of scholarships. 20 children, each from broken homes, would get a second chance. I looked at her photo on the wall and smiled. She had given me so much more than money. She'd given me direction, purpose, power, and the wisdom to use it well. The old Toyota still sits in my garage. I could buy a fleet of luxury cars, but I keep it because it reminds me of who she really was, a woman of substance, not flash. Sometimes I wear her principal's blazer to board meetings. The older directors smile knowingly when they see it. They understand, I'm not just her heir. I'm her legacy. As for my parents, they moved out of state, clinging to the only narrative they had left, telling strangers about their ungrateful daughter. But their words don't touch me anymore. Because I know exactly who I am. I'm Emma Grace Montgomery. And like my grandmother before me, I choose love over money, compassion over pride, and the kind of wealth that can't be measured in dollars. That's what real family does.